I would like to start just to welcome everyone, and I think in this training we have our experts from the Department of Agricultural Land Resource Management of GDA. So joining this very important training. So I also would like to thank you, Silva Carbon, for the support and for the organizing of this training event, especially Marija, for keeping very good communication, with our team to make sure that we have the ongoing progress, even those under the situation of COVID-19 pandemic. So I think in this situation, I think thing to moving in a direction that we are going to meet, even though the field work cannot be performed because of the pandemic. So I think this year I can see that today is a good start of our work of joint efforts. I would like to also thank the trainer of the session of this 4 days training, but I also apologize that I may not be able to join with you the whole session. Maybe some time during the whole 4 days, if I'm available. I will try my best to join with you all. But I encourage my people of the Department of Agricultural Land Resource Management, please follow up closely, attend, participate, and make sure that we take up the good lesson, a good skill from this deep machine training. Thank you very much, Marija. Back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wang Seng. And no problem. We fully understand that you cannot be with us, and we'll keep you updated on any of the main decision points so that you know what we are discussing, and especially in terms of next steps. So with that, I would like to very briefly introduce our trainer, Andrea Nicolao, who is a spatial analyst working for the Spatial Informatics Group. And as I mentioned, she is currently based in Brazil, although she has been working for a while with the Servier headquarters, right, in Alabama. So Andrea has been also, she had a chance to meet with a couple of our colleagues, Udom and Sopanya. So they already know her, but she's new to our team. And I was just telling her that the Cambodia team is the best team to work with. so she comes with high expectations about the training. So I think without kind of taking too long, Andrea, maybe I'll hand it over to you, and you can give us a brief update or a brief outline of how you envisage these 4 days will go. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Maria. Thanks, Dr. Wang Seng, and thanks everyone for being here. I'm really excited for these 4 days. So we'll be focusing on, basics of neural networks. We're going to talk a little bit today about the work that, we've done so far, next steps as well. And then I'm going to introduce, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and then neural networks. For tomorrow, we're going to go a little more in depth into neural networks. The third day will be a little bit more interactive. We'll play with some demos, and you all will also have a little homework to do for the third day. And for the fourth day, we'll be playing a little bit with the tools. We're gonna, look into Google Colab, look into all the tools we use to run these models. So there is a website that Maria has posted in the chat, and I'll repost. But that website will have, let me open here real quick. Let's see if I can. I don't know if my screen went blank. 1 second. Well, can you see my screen? I don't see anything.
No, we can't see.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Let me try resharing. Okay. Sorry about this. This is not a good way to start. All right. I think now, can you see the screen? Yeah, okay. Sorry about that. That's not a very good way to start, but there's this website I'm gonna add in the chat, but you basically contain all the information. The agenda is here. So today you're gonna go through these topics, and I'm gonna be posting the slides as well as we go, and the recordings as well for later. So the slides I'm presenting today, they're already linked here, and you can open and follow along. So let me put this in the chat, and we can get started. Okay.
So you want everybody to click on the slides, right? To open the slides so they can follow, right?
Yeah, they can do that. Yeah, if they want.
Okay.
So yeah, thanks everyone. My name is Andrea. As Maria said, I'm a geospatial analyst for the Spatial Informatics Group. And because I'm new, I wanted to get to know, you guys a little bit more. So if we could do like a quick round of introduction, if you feel comfortable, speak out loud. You can also do in the chat, but just sharing your name, your position or organization, and your favorite ice cream flavor. I'm a big fan of coconut ice cream, and I was very curious if you guys have rambutan ice cream there. So if we can do a quick round of introduction, maybe I can call out the names. So maybe Maria, do you want to start?
Yeah, so Maria Kona from the Silver Carbon program, any kind of ice cream, doesn't matter. Yeah.
Dr. Vansang.
Yeah, hello, my name is Seng Wang. You can call me Wang. Seng is my family name. Yeah, I am the director of the Department of Agricultural Land Resource Management of GDA. So my favorite ice cream flavor is, well, some like strawberry is fine to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe Bore, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced your names.
Good morning. My name is Bore. I work at Ministry of Environment. I'm a technical team in MOV team. We our duty produce land use and land cover mapping for whole country. And my favorite ice cream flavor is vanilla.
Okay, thank you. Carlos.
Can you hear me well? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Good. Hi, Andrea. I'm from Colombia, in fact, but I'm living here in Cambodia.
Okay.
Right. I'm working with the UNDP. I'm supporting the Ministry of Environment. I have some knowledge in remote sensing and a little bit in artificial intelligence and convolutional networks. A little bit, not too much. Don't expect too much from me. And my favorite one, that's a difficult one, but yeah, I think I love coconut, but also vanilla. Yeah,
Awesome.
so both of them. Thank you.
Thanks, Carlos. Chaya.
Good morning. My name is Visnachaya. I'm from Agricultural Zoning Office, and my favorite ice cream is coconut. Thank you.
Thank you. A lot of coconut fans here. That's good. Karis?
Oh, can you see me? No. There we go.
Yeah.
Hi, good morning. So I'm Karis. Good to see you virtually, a lot of you again. I know I've worked with you in the past. My favorite ice cream is cookie dough. My spatial informatics group. See you.
Thank you. Nak Sivan. Sorry if I got that wrong. And also feel free if you feel more comfortable just put in the chat, that's fine too.
Chị Vươn.
Okay. Maybe Nian. I know Nian.
Yes, good morning, everyone. My name is Nye, and I work as a geospatial data scientist in ADBC Savia Mekong project based in Bangkok. And my favorite ice cream flavor is green tea. Nice to meet you all.
Nice. Thanks, Nian. Udom, I know you too, but
Morning, everyone. My name is Dam, and I am a new college with cropland team. And my favorite ice cream is chocolate flavor.
thanks, Udom. Kuyen.
Hey, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Very nice to see Mr. Sengwang again. I am Quyen, and I am remote sensing officer of Survey Mekong IDPC. Very happy to join with you in this training. My favorite cream flavor, I think, is vanilla. Thank you.
Thank you. Sar Safira.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Dr. Seng Wang. My name is Supira. I work as a forestry specialist with the FAO in Cambodia. My favorite ice cream is like vanilla. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you. Sultan.
Good morning. I'm very pleased to see our colleagues from Silver Carbon, and especially Dr. Seng Wang at GDA. My name is Soton. I am the Afulu technical expert of FAO Cambodia. My very interesting is about the activity data and emission factor is very interesting for me. So this training is very useful. And last, for the favorite ice cream flavor is chocolate. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Stefan Mon.
Good morning, Professor. Hello, everybody. My name Mun Supon. I from Agriculture Zoning of GDA. I would like to ice cream. I would like to coconut. Yes,
Coconut.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. And then last but not least, Sophia.
Good morning, Professor, and good morning, Doctor. My name is Supanya, and I am officer at Royal University in Agriculture, and I am a new data collector in that project too. And my favorite ice cream flavor is chocolate. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Apaya. Awesome. Thanks, everyone, for sharing a little bit. So we can go straight into it now. So to start, we're going to just talk, have a brief summary of the work done so far. Where are we? So in the general timeline, last year, you all had some webinars on reference data collection, right? In October, there was a campaign on collection of reference data where you collected a lot of polygons with the crop types. And we got some preliminary maps based on that collected data. Currently, we are here in this phase 2. We did a refinement of the reference data collected with Udam and Sopanya just a couple weeks, these couple last weeks. We're going to have an additional reference data collection. We can talk about this, today, this week. And currently, we're doing this webinar on machine learning. This is just an introductory webinar on machine learning. We're going to have more. And we're going to implement, try new machine learning models to see improvement based on the data, and also collect additional crop types data. Then later in the year, we're gonna be assessing these new maps, see if we can if there's anything else we can do to improve the crop maps or not. And then the last phase is doing the final accuracy assessment to see if we're getting good results on those maps, and estimate unbiased areas as well for each crop type. So this is a general timeline. We're here advancing to the second half, and this is the most crucial part, because everything here, it depends on these two first phases. So just a reminder of the overall approach. You guys collect a lot of reference data. We have some input imagery that we try, different satellite sources. We input everything into a classifier or a model, which in this case we are trying for a convoluted neural network model, and we're going to talk about a convoluted neural network mostly tomorrow. And then from that we can get our a crop map or land cover map. And finally, as I said, in phase 3 and 4, we're going to do an accuracy assessment to see, if this land cover map is good or not. And then this is a, iterative process, meaning that if we see that, the land cover map is not, is still missing a couple crops, or is not doing very well, everything goes back to the initial point here, where we either need to collect more reference data or change our input imagery to go through again a model, change some parameters in the model, and all of that. So everything is dependable here. Also, feel free to interrupt me at any time if you have any questions. So during phase 1, as I mentioned, you all did reference data collection. You defined a classification key for each crop type. We have perennial crops with all of these different crop types. And we focus a lot on broadleaf tree crops, right? And that's what we did as well for the refinement of the data collection. But we also have annual crops, and then the other classes as well. There are present in the study area. So what you all did, you went into QGIS in Guler-Fengen, and you constructed these blocks of land where you manually drew all the polygons within each of those blocks, right, to collect and say, oh, this is a cassava field or something else. So from that first reference data collection campaign, there were 12 plots, 4 by 4 kilometers, as you can see here. And then you manually drew 939 polygons in total. This was cleaned up afterwards. I can talk about this. And you all mainly focus on the Rotenakmondal area, right? The green area here. So this is a lot already. You hand digitize everything, which is great. There's a lot of good high level information. So we did run some preliminary results last year, and we tried optical and radar data, but the last run we did, you did 84% accuracy, 55% precision, and 52% recall. It's not that bad, but it can definitely be improved. Some of the main issues regarding the data collection and also the model performance as well was mismatch a little bit between the polygons and the actual crop boundaries, difficulty to assign the crop type when the plant is young. I think a lot of you notice older versus newer plants, and that's hard to identify. And then it is hard to distinguish, right, between some of the crop types because they look very, very similar to each other. And these numbers are a reference to the broadleaf tree crops only. So that was the preliminary results we got. And then after that, we decided to do a refinement of the data collected. So Dom and Supan here, they helped us doing this. They analyzed a total of 320 broadleaf tree crop polygons that were previously collected in phase 1. So they each have a Collect Earth Online project where they went through all of these 320 polygons of broadleaf tree crops and analyze if the boundary was correct or if it was actually a broadleaf tree crop or not. And they did that with the assistance of Planet NICFI data, which is high resolution 6-month composites of plant imagery. So very, very high resolution, 3-4 meters resolution. So some of the questions they asked, they analyzed if the polygon boundary was correct or not, and if it wasn't, they would go and correct that boundary. So here in this image, you can see that they corrected here in green a little bit the boundary. And then the other question they had is if it was broadleaf tree crop or not, because we were focusing on this. So they could answer yes, no, and then unsure as well, because we wanted to know the level of confidence they had analyzing these polygons. And then they also had a space to describe issues if they saw any. For example, if they had a wrong polygon boundary, they would explain why, or if it wasn't a broadleaf tree crop, they could explain why it wasn't, maybe it was cassava or something else. And there's also a link here that is available where all the instructions to go through this process are located there. But they basically just did an assessment of the broadleaf tree crop data that you guys collected in phase 1. So these are some of the results. So they analyzed the same project. So they went through the same polygons, but in different projects. And it was good because they found a lot of consistencies. You can see that the numbers are very similar to each other, which is very good. Can you hear me? I saw a message. Can you all hear me?
I can hear you, but I'm not sure. Anybody else has problems hearing Andrea?
I can hear a lot.
Yeah. I can hear.
Okay. Okay. So this is very good. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So this is very good. It means that the polygons are consistent and the analysis makes sense. And some of the issues they both noticed is that there are some plots that had broadleaf tree crops in villages, and that can be a bit of a problem for the model because you have a little bit of houses and you have a little bit of shrubland, and then that can impact the model when analyzing the broadleaf tree crop. Also, some mixed crops were also an issue, or in the case that you had land abandonment, and then after they abandon, just regular tree regrow there, not specifically broadleaf tree crop. Or in the case of mixed crops, they just grow side to side, and it's hard to distinguish between each other. And also we saw this overall expectation to see more older broadleaf tree crops and not as much like younger plants, because it makes it really hard to distinguish which crop it is. So that's what we've done so far. So moving forward, we want to, get this analysis by Udam and Sopanya and clean up that reference data set. So we're going to take out all the polygons that we saw that are really not broadleaf tree crops, and also use now the corrected polygons for the boundary. Besides that, we do want to do additional data collection with them. So we have, more data is always, good, especially running, these neural networks, because they just require a lot of data input. And then we're going to rerun the model to see if there's improvement or not. We also have available some crop data from Thailand, from our folks from Surveyor Mekong. So we can leverage that, because Thailand and Cambodia are very similar in terms of, the climatic conditions. So we can test if that's going to help the model or not. And then we're going to have more in-depth webinar on the machine learning model chosen. So as I said, this is just a very overview webinar of machine learning and neural networks, but then we're going to have something more in depth where we're going to code as well and use some programming. Does anyone have any questions regarding that before I move on to the neural networks? And feel free to use the chat as well. Okay. So for us to talk about neural networks,
Andrea,
yeah.
Before you, I have a question. Can you go back to the slide before?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned additional data collection, right? Is that a data that will be collected on collectors online, similar to what you've been doing so far with Sopanya and Udam, or is this additional data that we need to get from the field or from somewhere else?
Yeah, we thought about additional data collection, doing the same thing that was done in phase 1. So building those blocks again, 4 by 4 kilometers or something similar, and then hand digitizing the polygons using QGIS or Google Earth Engine. So I don't think it would be Collect Earth Online. But yeah, for that we can still use QGIS and Google Earth Engine and not necessarily go to the field to do that.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else has any questions about the steps? I mean, what we've done so far. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question also. Yeah, and Andre. Yeah, thank you, Andre. About the clean up reference data set, we have been, restricted by the pandemic, not being able to conduct the field work to do at least the ground truthing, Yeah. So, I want to ask Andre, how are we going to do with the clean up reference data, Yeah.
Yeah, so I know you wanted to do the field work to get training data, but also to do, the ground truthing. We can still do the ground truthing with Collect Earth Online later with the accuracy assessment. Keep using this high resolution imagery as long as we have people that can distinguish the crop types and the fields. We can still do that using the satellite imagery. But yeah, if we can discuss later on if it's, if later on it's a possibility to go to the field doing the ground truth, I think that would be really valuable as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So now we can go into neural networks. So before we dive into that, we need to go back. Okay, so first goals. The specific objectives of today is to understand what is artificial intelligence and its types. also understand as machine learning and its types, and then finally neural networks. We will be just introducing neural networks today, and then tomorrow we'll go more in depth. But to go into neural networks, we need to go back all the way into artificial intelligence. So what is artificial intelligence? It is a branch of computer science and is concerned with building smart machines that are capable of performing tasks that typically require human intelligence. So it's just machines copying our human intelligence. And this concept was introduced in 1950 by this mathematician called Alan Turing, and he asked this question: can machines think? And Alan Turing, he was the mathematician who broke the Nazi encryption machine Enigma. He helped the Allied forces with World War II to win the World War II. There's a very nice movie about this. I have here. It's called The Imitation Game. It's on Netflix, but it talks about how he broke that Nazi encryption machine called Enigma. And then, okay, so Maria has seen the movie. Yeah, it's a really incredible movie. So this is, when it started, people started talking about artificial intelligence. He also has a Turing test, which he introduced even before 1950. But we're going to see later the Turing test is a method. It's an inquiry in AI, which determines if whether or not a computer is capable of thinking like a human being or not. But this is where everything kind of started. And a few examples of AI that you all know. It's Google search, right? When you search an image, search something on Google, it gives you results. So that's using machine learning, AI. Image recognition software as well is another example. And all these personal assistants that you have on your phone or in a computer, Siri, Alexa, these are all types of artificial intelligence, right? They're all machines doing their work. So the Turing test, there are two humans and one computer. One of the humans is the questioner, and then he asks a bunch of questions to the computer and also to the human respondent. And the test assesses if this questioner, who he cannot see, who is the computer and who is the human, he has to guess who is who, right? Who is the machine and who is the computer? If he has 50% or less accuracy guessing who is the machine and who is the human, that means that the computer has an artificial intelligence. So this was introduced by Alan Turing later, before, like in 1936. So that's called a Turing test. And I wanted to ask you, can you guys think of any example of Turing tests nowadays that we use when you go on your web browser? Can you think about a type of Turing test that we have to do nowadays? Can you guess? And you can put in the chat if you can think of a type of Turing test that we do nowadays. No, nothing? So when we are browsing the internet, sometimes we are asked to verify our identity, right? When you click the reCAPTCHA, you say, "I'm not a robot." So this is a nowadays type of Turing test, right? And there are different types of AI. These are the terms most used: narrow, general, and then super. So narrow AI is also known as weak AI, and it's called narrow because it has a narrow range of abilities, so it's very limited. It focuses on, just specifically like a singular task, not more than one task. And it doesn't mimic or replicate the human intelligence, so it's considered inferior to a human. And an example of narrow AI is just Google search or Siri, Alexa. They only focus on one answer, one specific task. They cannot do more than that, and that's why it's called narrow AI. General AI, it's also called strong AI or deep AI. They can handle more tasks. They can handle different tasks from different areas. So it's different from the narrow one, which is limited. It does mimic the human intelligence, it does learn in one area and then apply to the others. And this is what is currently being tested right now with all these, machine learning models and deep learning models. So this is what we have today, and it's being tested, right? People are trying to construct a robot that can think like a human and do those tasks. So this is what we have nowadays. And then you have super AI, and this is the case where the artificial intelligence surpasses the human intelligence and capabilities. It's when the machine is self-aware and it has like a deep thoughts, feelings, and consciousness. So we don't have this nowadays, but people are trying to build this, to create this, but many doubt that this is feasible. So this is would be in the future if it happens. We don't even know if it's gonna happen, but it would be a machine like a human, which has its own thoughts and feelings and consciousness. But these are the main types of AIs. Now into machine learning. So machine learning is a branch of artificial intelligence, and it is the study of the computer algorithms that allow computer programs to automatically improve through examples. So what does that mean? That the machine learning utilizes different techniques, various techniques to handle a large and complex amount of information to make decisions or predictions. Let's say like Google search, right? What happens with the Google search? They're incredibly good at bringing the, for example, image of a dog if you search for dog, right, in the image. And what it means is what it does is the system behind it just recognizes a lot of dog images. And then when you ask for it, it knows what you want because it has a lot of those data already as examples. So they are fed, these data sets which they know that they're dogs. And then when you ask for a dog, they already know what you're looking for. So machine learning, you have to think about, it requires a lot of input data set, so it knows what it's trying to learn that, right? So that you have an output like the input data. So that's overall machine learning definition. So we're gonna let's see if we can watch this video. It's a really good video. It's by Ian McCunn. He's the head of the Facebook Artificial Intelligence Research. And he explains how machine learning works. And it's 4 minutes long, and then we're gonna go through it. He might be speaking too fast. And let me see if can you guys let me know if you can hear or not?
No, we cannot hear.
We cannot hear, and I don't think that we can hear the video in GoToMeeting.
In the meeting, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Let me see. Yeah. It doesn't
Maybe
have.
you can send us a link, and then we open it here, each one in his computer.
Yeah, that's a great idea. It's okay. Let me go back.
And we'll play at the same time.
Yeah, it's only 4 minutes long, and it's really interesting. We're gonna go through what he says, but he does a great job explaining, better than me. So maybe, do you guys want to our time here 4 minutes, and then we can get back?
Sounds good. Maybe give us 5.
Okay. Okay, so it seems like, yeah, people are finishing watching the video. CND, yeah. What do you guys think about it? Was it easy? He's explaining like in simple terms, kind of easy to understand. We're gonna go through what he said. So he first introduces like the concept of algorithm, right? Which is he gives the example of washing your dishes, right? You get a dirty plate, you rub it, and then you put it in the water, and then you let it dry, right? So what is an algorithm? Is like a sequence of steps that you have to do, right? These instructions. So that's what computer do. And then he also says that computers sees images as numbers, right? You have this table, which usually for an image is brightness of the pixels, and then you train this model to achieve the correct classification. And he also explains the weight and sums of pixels, because that's how the model is gonna classify if it's C or D. So, which is, you just have the weight here, and you multiply by the image pixel, and then you sum that result of the multiplication. And in the case he gives the example here of 7. So, and then he explains how to choose the weights, right? So and why it is important, because you want to distinguish C and D. So you need to have different weights for those letters. So for the letter C, he basically takes all the black pixels and assigns a weight of 1. And same thing for the letter D, but instead of increasing to 1, he actually extracts those black pixels 1 value. So the final weight will have, for the pixels that only the C letter has, it's going to have 1. And for the pixels that only the D letter has, it's going to have -1. So then when you compare, the image of a C, if it sees a C, the sum will be true, which is greater than 0, then it classifies as C. But if it's, if it's a D, the sum will end up being -1, which is, less than 0, then it classify as a D letter. So that's, very generalized, very simple way of how the machine learning works. Does anyone have any questions regarding this? Doesn't seem. Okay, great. This is good. But then, yeah, in real life, we have, like he said, the dogs and the cars, they come, in every type of, every different colors and different shapes. So it's much more complicated. So here, just an example, this is actually from you guys, from what you collected. It's really hard sometimes to distinguish, right, a coconut crop from a mango crop. So we want to be able to do that. So it gets much more complicated, and we're going to talk about that. He just gave like a really simple example of C's and D's. So maybe we want to take a quick break. I had this here for, it's like mid slides. I don't know if you guys want to grab a cup of coffee or something like that, maybe 5 minutes. Or should we keep going? It's really up to you. Any opinions? Keep going?
Is it fine for me? I don't know. What do you think, guys?
It's fine for me for keep going. Anybody would like to be free for take a break to go to the restroom or take some coffee?
Yeah, it seems like people want to keep going, so okay. Yeah, so I want you guys to give me real world examples, use cases of, machine learning approaches. And I'm not talking about like Google search or anything like that. Like think about, have you used, do you have any model or any classification model that you have used maybe for crop mapping, maybe for something else? Just share. You can type on the chat because we're going to start talking about, the types of machine learning models now. Anything you can think of. Nothing? That's okay, we're gonna go through them. So this is a huge table, but it pretty much in a nutshell, these are the types of machine learning that we have. So there's supervised learning, unsupervised, semi-supervised, and then reinforcement learning as well. We're gonna talk about, examples and what these are. But and these can, depending if you have target variable, that means pretty much like, the reference data that you're looking at. If you have target variable, depending if it's continuous or categorical, like if you wanna, have classes like the crop types that we're gonna use, you can have different models, right? You can use regression, you can use classification, and here it gives example like real world examples. You can use regression to infer housing price prediction, and regression just means that you have a independent and dependent variables. So the same thing like with temperature and height, right? The higher you go, it gets colder, right? So that's an example of regression. That means they have a relationship. Classification, like we're trying to do with the crop mapping, right? And we have reference data. We have the target variable available to use in our model. Unsupervised, you don't have any target variable, but there are a few models there. You can use clustering or association, and we're going to talk about this. Semi-supervised, you can kind of guess it's a little bit of these two, right? Unsupervised and supervised. And you can also do classification and clustering and reinforcement learning, which is pretty cool. We're going to talk about this as well. You can have the categorical target variable and do a classification, but you can also use without any target variable available, which is more control, and it goes into like self-driving cars. It's like learning through reinforcement, through reward. So these are, the main types that you're gonna hear about machine learning. And as I already mentioned, like we are focusing for the crop mapping, we're focusing on supervised learning specifically, right? We're doing this categorical target variable available. We're doing classification to define, using the satellite imagery in our reference data of the crop types. We're gonna do this crop mapping. So we'll start with unsupervised learning. Wait, sorry. So the inputs are given without any expected output, so you don't have any labeled data, right? When you are doing like the supervised, you do have labeled data. So for this one, we call them like self-taught algorithms. What happens is that the data is classified first, and then it is categorized into clusters later on. So you can think of unsupervised learning as like, performing a task that you have not experienced before, and you start the experience by gathering as much information as possible. It's like, learning a language without knowing the basics of a language. You start hearing a word here, understanding what people are saying, and then you start, gathering this information and learning by your experience, but you're never given like a book with, how to learn the language or a professor to teach you. So that you can think of unsupervised learning like that. You don't have any label data to help you learn, but think, if you're given, for example, an image of dogs and cats, imagine that a computer doesn't know what dogs and cats are, but if you look at dogs and cats, you can try to look for similar patterns, right? Similar features of dogs and cats, like dogs will have longer noses and, they'll be bigger than cats. So you can start gathering this information, and then you can say, okay, so these are dogs and these are cats. So you can think about unsupervised learning like that. Some examples of unsupervised learning algorithms. I'm sure you guys heard about, clustering k-means, KNN. They are types of clustering algorithms. You have principal component analysis, which is an association algorithm, singular value decomposition. So when you think about clustering, it's the example I said about dogs and cats before. You can, distinguish them. You have all of these different things, but they have similar colors, right? So we can group them together and construct these clusters of data, right? They are similar to each other. So that's how unsupervised learning works, mainly doing this clustering. For supervised, then we do have the set of inputs, right? We know we have our labeled data or tagged data or reference data. So then the model, they're giving this labeled data and trained and said, okay, so now guess what's this? But based on this data that it was given. So the supervised algorithm works out rules that can give expected output for the given inputs. And then, this decision-making ability then enables the algorithm to forecast new inputs and make decisions. And, contrary to the unsupervised, supervised learning is like performing a task which you were taught before, and you have a fairly good idea about the expected result for the given set of inputs. So here the example is just, you do know this is black and this is white, instead of, for the unsupervised, you didn't know anything at all. So that's pretty much the main difference between supervised and unsupervised. And these are some types of supervised learning algorithms: nearest neighbor, decision trees, random forest. I'm sure you guys have used random forest before. It's just, you have this basket of fruits. This is just an example. But it does have a bunch of different decision trees. You can have, as many as you want. And then you define what fruit it is by a majority voting at the end from these decision trees. You also have card classification, which is the classification and regression tree, support vector machines. And finally, neural networks, right? That's what we're going to look into. So neural networks are a type of supervised learning, machine learning model. But we also have semi-supervised learning. So as you can see here at the bottom, supervised learning, you knew, all of your input data, right? For example, here they are labeled orange, this one is labeled blue. Unsupervised learning, you don't know anything. You just try to guess based on features of that data, based on similarities and that sort of stuff. But the semi-supervised, you have a little bit of labeled data and a little bit of unlabeled data. So yeah, the input data is a mixture of labeled data and unlabeled data. And then you usually have a very small amount of labeled data and then a large amount of unlabeled data. And then there is a desired output, but the model must learn the structures to organize the data as well as make predictions. So what happens is the model, you train the model with the small amount of the labeled data, just like you do in a supervised learning, until it gives you good results. Then after that, you use that model with the unlabeled data to predict the outputs, which can be called like pseudo labels. And they might not be quite accurate, right, because they are unlabeled. And then you link those labels from the label training data and the pseudo label from the unlabeled one. And then you train the model the same way as you did before. And you know, with doing that iteratively, you can decrease your error and finally like get into a satisfactory result. But it's you know, it's a little bit of both. That's the main point of this. And then you have reinforcement learning. So reinforcement learning, they are like goal-oriented algorithm. You learn how to like get in, you know, attain an objective, like a goal, and how you maximize, you know, your steps to get to that goal. So an example here is like a chess game, right? You want to win your chess game, like by maybe doing the least amount of moves needed, or maybe by losing, you know, the least amount of pieces that you have. So you know, there's no labeled input data, and it works based on this like reinforcement agent, which can be called a reward. So like if you know, you move your piece, your chess piece, and then you know that gets you know, bitten by the opponent, then you know you learn how to not do that again because you lost your piece, right? So it's based on punishment and reward, and these decisions are made sequentially. There are many outputs possible, and then the best solution is decided based on the maximum reward, which, you know, by maximum it just means like having the least amount of steps needed to win, or losing the least amount of pieces. It's like you can think of, you know, a pet, like a dog or a cat. You know, if you scold it, it's because it's doing bad things, but if you give it a treat, it's because it's doing a positive thing, and it learns right through that process. So that's pretty much what reinforcement learning is. And you know, nowadays, if you play chess, if you play, you know, chess on an online website, you can play against a computer that is like super good because it was trained to do that very well. So that's reinforcement learning. And then we get into neural networks. So neural networks, it's, you know, when you think about neural networks, there are a series of algorithms that mimic the operation of a human brain to recognize relationships between vast amounts of data. So they can also be called deep learning, although some people will say that deep learning, you know, is a type of, you know, neural networks. We're going to talk about that, like why the word deep. But you can think of, you know, a neuron in a neural network, the mathematical function that collects and classifies information according to a specific architecture. And then it contains layers of interconnected nodes. So you can think, you know, of a human neuron. What the neural networks, like the computer one, is trying to do is pretty much mimic that. And we'll see, like, you have your different inputs here, which is x1, x2, xn, and then the w here are the weights, like the weight that we saw in the video. You have those weights, and then you have a function which will classify your input data to have the output that you want. So it's pretty much, you know, neural networks, it really comes from, you know, the human neurons. So what a neural network will do is we'll take input data, you transform the input data, as I said, you know, by calculating the weighted sum over the inputs, and then it applies like a function. In most cases will be non-linear function instead of linear. And we're going to talk about this mainly tomorrow, to the transformation of the weighted sum, and then it calculates the output. So it's composed of mainly 3 different types of layers. So you have the input layer, the hidden layer, which is like the intermediate phase, and then you have the output layer. And this output layer can get inputted into a new you know, activation function, a new type of, you know, it will be like another hidden layer. We're going to talk about this, but these 3 are the main layers in a neural network: the input layer, the hidden layer, and then the output layer. Yeah, and then, as I said, like through the repetition of these steps, the neural network learns like multiple types of information and combines that into a final layer to create the output that you're looking for. Yeah, so like the main difference that the neural network, they will take additional dimensionality into account, and they will learn non-linear patterns. So the other algorithms we'll see later that will be based a lot of linear functions, and that it limits the way that the model can learn. But these are just some examples. Here you have the input data, right? You have red and blue. You have this nearest neighbors algorithm. You can see how it classifies those points. Support vector machine, decision tree, random forest, and then neural networks. But that's just the basic of neural networks. And then I have a game here. This is very interesting because this game was built with machine learning. You draw, so it's a game where you draw, and then a neural network tries to guess what you're drawing. And of course, it doesn't always work, but the more you play with it, the more you will learn. So this is by Google. You can play. I thought you can play for a couple of minutes and see what see if it's gonna guess or not. You're drawing, but yeah, it's basically this. They say it's the world's largest doodling data set, and what happens is you ask you to draw a coffee cup under 20 seconds, and then you draw, and then you probably she already said mug in mind. But yeah, that's how it works. I thought you guys could play for a couple minutes. And then tell me what you think. But that's, this, what's running behind this is a neural network trying to guess. And the more you draw, the more it gets better at it. I don't know if you could hear the audio from my computer, but she did say like a mug, which is close to coffee cup. So maybe you guys can play for a couple minutes. I'm coming to an end actually, so it will be good. Maybe just like 5 minutes, I'll time here. Your son agrees. That's good. I find it so hard to draw with the mouse. Thanks. Yeah, that is great, Sophia. Also, it's fun. So like tomorrow we're gonna looking, how like in the background, like what's happening, how is it happening, that way. So Sultan said, he drew a mountain, and they said Great Wall of China. That's hilarious. Yeah, very, very confused. We don't cannot draw stitches. Too hard. Awesome. So okay. Seems like you guys enjoyed. Do you guys have any questions? Okay, yeah, now I cannot draw an elephant. Yeah, maybe the model is not that smart, right? It's not guessing a bunch of the drawings. Do you guys have any questions so far? I know we went, it's a very like brief overview, like a broad overview, I mean. Any questions regarding neural networks? Did you get like understood basic concept, artificial intelligence or machine learning? No questions?
Well, I have one question, which is, oh, sorry, I see you also in the Sofira. Yeah, but actually the question is for Sofira and Bore maybe, and maybe also, I don't know if Dr. Wang Seng is still online, and all the other experts that have been involved in the land cover mapping. So if we are doing this neural network kind of mapping for the crop mapping, I mean, to me, this seems completely different from anything else that we've done before in Cambodia. So I mean, how will it relate to the overall land cover mapping? Is this something that we want to discuss, start discussing now, or should we first start, maybe first see the results and then discuss later? So this is more of a general question, but I was just thinking, like, as you were presenting, that this is really different from everything that we've done. So yeah, this is
right.
A question for us, the whole group.
No, yeah, definitely. And when I started like looking into machine learning and neural networks, like the examples are really different. Like there's nothing like related to like satellite imagery, right? Like what we do, what we see, but I think tomorrow it will be a bit more clearer because I'm gonna be showing the types of neural networks and asking questions like, how do you think this would work with the crop mapping specifically? But yeah, like in general, we're drawing and all of that, but in our case for the crop mapping, the model will be looking into the imagery, right? The satellite imagery, and with the data that we feed, is going to get those pixels from the imagery and try to guess, right? Try to classify that. I think it will make more sense tomorrow, but I know we talked about like dogs and cats, or an image of a fruit, and we can start thinking of that as a satellite imagery. That's what our model will be looking at. Does that answer your question? I think tomorrow it will make more sense.
Yeah, thanks. It answers a little bit my question, but it's also, yeah, let's maybe also keep discussing how this would fit in the overall land cover mapping methodology. Is it going to be an add-on, or is it going to be a process that we will just do for specific land cover classes? Or I guess maybe more it's about like how it will the harmonization with the other land cover classes. So yeah, but I mean it's a broad question.
No, yeah. Let me.
Yeah, I agree with Bore. She's saying let's discuss later after the see results. Yeah, I think That's a good. Let's see first how far we're gonna get.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So just real quick, we've been using like a neural network as the main classifier, and we were talking about like advantages and disadvantages as well. Like why we're not using like a random forest, for example, right? A different type of model, and we're gonna talk about that. But yeah, like we're gonna, from that classifier, we're gonna have our tree crop, our map of tree crops. And, initially we're just doing like broadleaf tree crop, yes or no. And then we're going to like start refining that. So we have the specific crop types. And we're going to talk about that. But yeah, once we see like a result, yeah, you guys are right. It will make more sense.
Yeah. Thank you.
And I'm pretty much reaching the end. So like the summary, I guess the main takeaway for today is, understanding that, these concepts that we learn are all nested into each other. So first you have artificial intelligence, which is the technique which enables machine to mimic human behavior. Then you have the machine learning, which is, this subset of AI, which, uses these different methods to enable the machine to improve with experience, right? The machines are learning from data, from what you feed the machines, the models. And then you can think neural networks or deep learning, and we're going to talk about, those two tomorrow as well, which is the subset of machine learning, which, it has all these different layers, like, the human brain, and it gets you the output that you want. So this is the main, I guess, takeaway from today. Tomorrow we're gonna do a deep dive into, I'll go back to questions. But tomorrow we'll be doing, a quick recap of today. Make sure everyone got the concepts. We're going to talk about neural networks, model types. We're going to talk a lot about terminology, so we are familiar when building these models. Most common model structures, as I said, advantages and disadvantages. And then start thinking, there's a homework part, just so you guys, get, used to the concepts and thinking about how to improve for the crop mapping. But I'm going to ask you all to prepare a presentation about what you have learned today and you will learn tomorrow. And any questions that you might have or any specific model you want to talk about or something like that for Thursday, for the third day. Sorry, I'm mixing up the day 3. So like what you learned today and tomorrow, just bring a presentation for the following day, the day 3. Does anyone have any questions or anything? If not, we'll probably end up a little earlier, but I want to thank you all, and tomorrow we'll keep working on neural networks.
Okay. I will ask if anybody has questions. You can also type them in the chat box, or you can also send questions through email later, and we can discuss them tomorrow. So maybe people want to go through the slides again, and I will send the recording of today. So when I send the invite for tomorrow, I will also send the recording for today. Or actually you will find it in the link, right, Andrea? It will be in that document that you shared, right? Let me see.
Yeah.
Can you point out?
Yeah, I'll put everything here. Yeah.
Okay.
As soon as
Okay, so I'll send you the recording and people can take a look. So anyway, if you have any questions, you can also send email. But I have one logistic question. Since Andrea is now, it's already past midnight for you, right? Yeah. So yeah, almost 1 p.m. So I wanted to ask, since a lot of people are joining from home, not from the office, is it possible to start 1 hour earlier tomorrow? So instead of 9 a.m. to start at 8 a.m. Would that be possibility starting at 8 a.m. or 8:30? Okay, 8:30. It's still better. Yeah.
That help.
Is 8:30 okay for everybody?
Good for me.
Okay. Well, whoever didn't reply is also agreeing. Okay, great. Okay, so we start tomorrow at 8:30. I will send the invite for 8:30. Perfect. Thank you so much, everyone, for this.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. I'll also fix here in the agenda.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's it for today.
Okay, thanks, everyone.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much, Andre. Thank you very much, Maria.
Thank
and
you.
Thanks, everyone, for being with us. So we can say goodbye now.
Goodbye.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Obrigado.
Valeu.
And thank you very much, Andrea. Thank you, Maria, and
Thank you,
thank you,
Sophia.
Professor and Doctor.
Talk tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Yes. Goodbye. 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 Yeah. Yeah.